It's rocking, but I don't even know if you can see me, so I don't know if you can comment on it. You just let me know. On the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line, 601-885-3776. We'll have John Cohen here in a couple of minutes on the Modelo guest line. Talk SEC and Hail State sports. The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Independent Roofing Systems, the number one commercial roofer in the state of Mississippi. Independent Roofing Systems, roofing.ms, great company, locally owned since 1980. For your next commercial job, you want it done right, you want the quality, Independent Roofing Systems. And Joe and Larry and Melissa will take care of you. They've done big jobs, medium-sized, small jobs, you name it. And everything from the Beaurafage to Nissan to the Golden Moon Casino. Roofing.ms, Independent Roofing Systems is the number one commercial roofer in the state of Mississippi. Good morning. Welcome in. Blake Mania with me. I'm your host, Bo Bounds. The SEC schools took a draw, if you will, of $23 million apiece. It's $322 million total. They can do that because they have so much money coming, right now, right? But with their new media rights deal that kicks in 2024, 2025, and y'all know this, the CBS Game of the Week is going to ABC, and they've done some more things within their the digital piece, and they're rolling. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC are rolling. Now, will we have another conference realignment / conference expansion, depending on what side you're on, at some point at 5+ years from now? It could happen. I think there's a question to be asked if the Big Ten will go poach the top 4 teams from the Pac-12. You know? And then you kind of see what would be the top 4 teams: USC, UCLA, Stanford, and Washington. Yeah, but that
not Oregon. You can't not take. I know you don't like Oregon, but they're up there now. It is what it is. The Nike combination, the money, they're in that conversation.
I don't think they have the street cred. I don't think they bring near as much to the table as far as eyeballs, Blake. So they have the cool factor, but
if you get USC, do you need UCLA? You're getting the eyeballs, right?
They're going together.
So you have USC, UCLA, Stanford.
Yeah.
The top 3 for sure.
Maybe Oregon. Maybe Washington.
See, I guess my thing is, like, why do you need UCLA?
Arizona State also is in a money TV market.
Right.
All right. Phoenix, Arizona has been booming for 40 years. And we all know that. I mean, you've been there, I've been there. That thing's crazy. So Arizona State is the sleeping giant out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe UCLA, but they're just, I don't know if they're ever going to do anything. But Southern Cal and Stanford and Oregon and Washington have had success. Arizona State is like, if they ever hired a Lincoln Riley, Dan Mullen, Mike Leach 15 years ago, Kiffin Sark a couple years ago before they...
Jeff Lebby.
Yeah, Lebby.
To take a modern look at it.
Yeah, if they ever did that. And Herm Edwards has done a good job, but if they ever really got a star on the offensive side of the football and took advantage of that, Arizona State could be an absolute monster all across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, the Phoenix metro area is humming and rolling. And, you know, it's a good play. I mean, sunshine and beautiful weather and beautiful people and all that stuff.
So if the key to conference realignment is 2 thoughts, I would think. One, it's what do the strong conferences want? And the strong conferences would be ACC, SEC, Big Ten. What do the strong conferences want? Because I assume every conference
I know what they want.
Well, every conference is going to have some type of realignment. It's not going to just be the Big Ten.
No.
Correct.
No.
So every school is going to want to grab a piece of some part of the pie.
Do we consolidate to 4 is the question.
4 super conferences.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and how the Big Ten is not known for being aggressive, although they're a monster. Would they go out there and do what was necessary to take Southern Cal and a couple other teams?
Or does the Big 12 make that play first?
And do the ACC and Big 12 do more of a merging than the SEC is something else to think about. I don't know. Texas, Oklahoma. There's some other fun teams there in play. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. The show is brought to you by Independent Roofing Systems, #1 commercial roofer in the state of Mississippi. And they've done work throughout the Southeast. Roofing.ms, Independent Roofing Systems. Great company, another great Mississippi company. So happy to have them on the show. And they were a major partner in our Out of Bounds charity event last November, too. And we thank them for that. Independent Roofing Systems, roofing.ms. You're listening to Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Our guests join us on the Modelo guest line. You can watch the show on YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports, or on Facebook. And we're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. We welcome in John Cohen, Athletic Director at Mississippi State. John, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. How are we doing today?
Hey, man, we're doing well. We're doing well. Thanks for coming on such short notice. I wanted to jump into this women's golf stuff that played out last week and then this week. Your golf team will be in Chandler, Arizona this morning, and they're able to continue to play and celebrate their season. And it sure looks like your coach, Charlie Ewing's done a hell of a job with your program. But how cool was it that they ended up having an opportunity to play after things just kind of didn't work out in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, we were going to do whatever it took, quite frankly. And I have to credit Steve Smith, who's second in command in our compliance office. He just did an incredible job, along with Purdue University, for, working with the NCAA to try and make this happen. We had to get authorization to be able to do this. And I'm just so glad that our kids are going to have an experience, although, not the experience we wanted them to have, Bo. Certainly disappointed with all manner of which this regional in Baton Rouge was handled, and I don't think I'm alone there. But these kids are resilient. I really feel bad, not only for kids who are going to lose the opportunity to compete at the highest level in an NCAA tournament, but also the kids who aren't going to ever have that opportunity again. And I really wish there was a way for us to be able to make that up to those kids.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult to work your way into the postseason. And, Stephen Smith's quote was hilarious in the article. Was it Golf Digest, Blake? Yeah, the Golf Digest article was fantastic. Right when he caught wind of it, he was like, oh, I don't think that can happen or will happen. What did he say, Blake? Give me the quote that you had up.
Yeah, Charlie Ewing comes to Steve and says, hey, I think there's this guy from Barstool that wants to put on a tournament. Steve says, I have no idea who Riggs was. Charlie says, how do we make this happen? And Steve goes, I'm thinking, my gosh, this is going to be impossible. When does he want to do it? Next week? No chance.
How cool is that, John?
No, it's phenomenal. And again, nothing will make up for the opportunity that was taken away from them, but certainly I'm glad that these kids will still get to compete and have fun doing it.
Sure. John Cohen on the Modelo guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. What about the announcement from the NCAA yesterday or the day before on deferring to the state-by-state guidelines as far as regional and super regional play, and then Omaha all announcing that there'll be 100% capacity, John?
Yeah, I think it's great for the sport of college baseball. I think it's great for the state of Mississippi. I am always amazed, and I say this all the time. When you're at Mississippi State, you're not supposed to give credit to Ole Miss or Southern Miss, but I'm going to say the baseball success in this state for our population is remarkable. The amount of talented kids who are coming out of our state or coming to our state to play baseball, it's incredible. So the fact that, 3 different schools in our state were listed among the top 20, for the opportunity potentially to host a regional, I think speaks volumes. And again, the fact that now each one of those, if we're fortunate enough to get a regional at Mississippi State, or if Ole Miss or Southern Miss gets a regional, they're going to be able to put as many people as they can in their facilities. I think that's tremendous, and I think it's a sign of things to come now that we're moving forward.
I asked you this a couple of weeks ago, so I'll do it again. Will it be nerve-wracking for you tonight, tomorrow night, Saturday night? watching the baseball team?
Nerve-wracking. Yeah, it's always nerve-wracking because I'm just taking mental notes in my head. I'm trying to break down the game. I not only in baseball, but in all of our sports. And, I get tied up in it mentally because I'm trying to see all the strategy involved. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I get tied up a little bit. I still am competitive, but it doesn't matter if I'm watching tennis, baseball, or football, or basketball, whatever it is. You just, you want to win. You want your kids to be prepared, and you want them to fight their hearts out for Mississippi State.
All right, you could disagree with this, which is fine. But if they win, if Mississippi State takes the series from Alabama, it looks like they're in a good position to do the things to get the announcement that they want, and whenever that is, a week or so. So here's the deal. Like 15 years ago when I started doing this, plus the SEC baseball tournament was a huge deal. Now I know you're going to argue, you're probably going to say it's a huge deal still, but when you're a top 4 team, 5 team, whatever, and you feel good about where you are going in the tournament, is it a different approach? Are you trying to get some other guys' innings that you may need some help from in the regional, super regional, if you're fortunate enough to go to Omaha, and you're trying to get some more guys at bats that maybe didn't get as many in February, March, and April at Hoover, or no?
I'm going to say that I would agree with you for maybe 3 teams who are in the SEC tournament, but that leaves 9 out of a field of 12 that have an incredible amount to prove. If you're sitting here with 11 or 12 wins, and all of a sudden you can run in there and get 3 wins in Hoover, or if you're the 8th, possible or 9th possible seed, and you want to be one of the national 8 seeds, and you got to, in that room, I haven't experienced this yet, but I've heard from the past, hey, this team could be a national seed. Well, they didn't win a game in their conference tournament. Here's where they were trending at the end. I just think, Bo, there's a lot on the table for now. Look, if you're talking about Arkansas right now, you're right. You're absolutely right. What does the SEC tournament mean for Arkansas? What does the SEC tournament mean? Well, for Vanderbilt potentially, but outside of maybe Vanderbilt and Arkansas, and maybe you throw Tennessee into the mix. I think everybody else has a lot to prove by playing well in the SEC tournament. Now what you don't want, you're 100% right about this. In 2012, we ran through that thing and played, I believe, either 5 or 6 games at noon, and we had very little left in our tanks. And we did not play as well as we wanted to in a regional in Florida State. So you don't want that. But at the same time, that team, and for us in 2012, had a lot to prove. And I don't regret the effort that they put into it. And so yeah, I agree with you for a limited amount of teams. But for most teams, I think the SEC tournament is of critical importance.
Fair enough. John Cohen, MSU AD on the Modelo guest line, talking SEC and Hail State sports. Just got a question from a listener, John, on the kickoff time for Mississippi State, Louisiana Tech. I know our people are crazy. So that's
we don't have that just yet.
Okay.
I know that we're going to get our first 3-game kick times here in the near future. So we're going to know those ahead of time. But boy, obviously we'd love for that to be a night game. Are we going to get a night game? Just not sure.
Right.
Our television partners are going to really determine that.
All right, I'm going to give that guy your cell number so he can kind of keep up with you throughout the summer, and depending on how that all goes. John Cohen on the Out of Bounds show. The Egg Bowl. Walk me through that. It will be on Thursday. A lot of people like that. It does give you the opportunity to be the only college game on. It gets very busy rivalry weekend throughout the country, coast to coast, not just in the conference. Why was that the right move for Mississippi State and Ole Miss?
Well, first of all, playing on a Thursday night during the season is problematic because you have school going on. Obviously, on Thanksgiving week, school is not going on. I think you're right. I think we're one of the few games, if not the only game in the entire country on that Thursday night, so the spotlight's on us. If we're jammed into the rotation with everybody else on Saturday, are you playing at 11 a.m.? Are you playing at 1:30? Are you playing at night? You just don't know. I also think it really, when you introduce the entire country into the equation, I think there's an interest level. I think people really get into watching that game from coast to coast. So I think it's beneficial for us for a variety of reasons. It's not fun for us to have the shortened work week, but you know what? It's the same for both teams. What's really cool is we've been able, both of our programs have been able to produce great NFL talent. It's a little bit of preparation for NFL, going to the NFL, really, when you think about it, because they have shortened weeks all the time. So I think our fans are about 50-50 on it. I think 50% of the folks enjoy it, 50% do not. But I think overall it's good for Mississippi State and it's good for Ole Miss.
All right. John Cohen on the Out of Bounds Show. This week it was announced that the Commissioner Sankey announced that all the teams will receive $23 million. And almost like a draw, but SEC distributes supplemental revenue to all 14 members, kind of playing off the next TV digital rights deal that y'all agreed to, I guess, within the last year or so. Total $322 million. Tell us a little bit about that, John.
Yeah, I just think it speaks to how nimble our league is. With what we all went through with the pandemic, I think this was kind of a necessity. I appreciate there is no issue that Greg Sankey and our league won't take head on, and this was something to protect our league, to help our league. And as usual, I think we're out in front in these types of areas. So just really pleased with how it turned out. And I think it's going to be a great benefit really to every school in our league. We started out with a $115 million budget this year. We had to shave it all the way down, probably around 73, 74 million. Was helped by the fact that we obviously couldn't recruit legally, so that helped the numbers. But with some of the things that we want to do with our facilities and we had to put off a year, this allows us to get right back on track, and just very thankful to the league and the leadership of the league.
John Cohen on ESPN 105.9 The Zone, talking Hell State sports. How do you and your team feel about football season ticket response? Here we are going into late May.
I'm really pleased with it, especially when you look across the landscape of college football around the country. It's, there's some frightening moments, Bo. There's no question when you look at what is happening around the country, a lot of fans were forced to watch from their living rooms. And quite frankly, the production value is so high from the ESPNs and, the ABCs that, it's not a bad place to be. This is why the Southeastern Conference has really benefited from folks being in stadiums, but the SEC's also benefited from folks not being in stadiums and watching on television. So, you kind of have to take the good with the bad. I know that there are times where it's difficult for fans to sit on hard, benches and in severe heat at times. I recognize that's difficult. I love the fact that we have diehard fans that are willing to do those things. We want to make it as convenient for them as possible. But going back to the number, the rate of return, I'm very pleased with where we are when you consider, the year that we just had.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up with this, John. John Cohen on the Out of Bounds Show. We've been talking to people in Starkville about the growth of the town. And you, like I, remember it as a small, sleepy college town that has really started to grow the last 10 or 15 years. I mean, I'm told there's not even enough inventory residential housing-wise up there, which is a good and bad problem to have. But what it tells me is there's a lot of demand both in town and out of town and out of state. Did you ever think that you would see that in Starkville, Mississippi?
I felt like it would. I likened it, obviously I grew up in Tuscaloosa, a college town. When I was really young, it really, and I came to Starkville, it reminded me of how Tuscaloosa was earlier in my childhood. And I can see the growth here happening. It's an incredible place to live. There's a great school system here. There's great community involvement, and I guess I did think, who wouldn't want to live in a community like Starkville, Mississippi? And I mean that quite sincerely. So yes, I thought it would happen, and I'm really pleased that it is happening. We've gotten great support from one of the great mayors in the country, and great leadership from Dr. Keenum. And I think that combination has really, done well. I think a lot of things that have happened athletically here over the last 10, 12 years have helped, but I think people really enjoy coming back to Starkville, and a lot of folks have the means to be able to do that.
Yeah. John Cohen on the Out of Bounds Show and the Modelo guest line. John, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
You got it. You got it, Bo. Have a great weekend.
John Cohen on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. The show is brought to you by Welcome Home Beef. Fantastic shop and store there on Main Street in Starkville with a great selection of beef, including ribeyes and strips and fillets and porterhouses. And Welcome Home Beef is located right there on Main Street, kind of going into the downtown area. Or if you're going the other way, you're going towards the Cotton District, but you can't miss it. Welcome Home Beef, great selection of beef, welcomehomebeef.com. And you can stop by there, load up your cooler with fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, porterhouses, among many other cuts. And don't forget this, for those of you listening in the Golden Triangle area on the Out of Bounds radio app, Welcome Home Beef has the Jonesy Q rubs and sauces line, the award-winning line from Jonesy Q. They have it at Welcome Home Beef in Starkville. All right, the show is also brought to you by my friend Brian Eisenhood. That's right. The Briar Patch, beautiful, beautiful bar and restaurant in Livingston, which is a beautiful area in the great state of Mississippi where 463 and 22 meet. Great cocktail list, delicious food, specials. They do all kinds of fun themes week in, week out. They just have a blast. And the Briar Patch is somewhere you need to go. It's got a little bit of Charleston, a little bit of New Orleans, and a little bit of Mississippi Delta in it. The Briar Patch in Livingston. We'll be back in a second. You're listening to Out of Bounds on ESPN 105.9 The Zone, WRKS.